was for last time.
Hades. Hades is considered must-play indie game, so no, Hades isn't bad. It's far from being bad. Many would say that it's the perfect roguelike, and I can't say otherwise, but take my review with a grain of salt, because I have not played that much games yet, so I can't compare. But I want to catch up with my backlog, which is exactly why I made this series. I will have more motivation to complete the games if I know that I can share my opinion with someone. But let's get back to Hades. The first thing that surprised me in Hades was that I didn't actually get to play as Hades, which made the title quite confusing. But I decided that instead of focusing on stupid little details like these, I should probably focus more on how the game plays and how it feels. So you don't play as Hades, but instead you play as his son, Zagreus, prince of the underworld. And my goal was to escape from Hades, no matter how many tries it may take. But you don't escape the underworld entirely on your own. The game wasn't about me polishing my skills while controlling Zagreus in the most accurate way. It was for the most part help of the Greek gods that assisted Zagreus with various boons that made him stronger in each escape. If I had to choose my favorite part in Hades, it would probably be discovering new gods and their abilities. It felt fresh and reminded me of the time I played League of Legends for the first time. There are lots of actions you can perform in battle. You have the basic attack, you also have special ability that differs from weapon to weapon, you have cast that can be changed into many forms, there's also a call and my personal favorite, a dash. Every god can upgrade your abilities and change the way how you use them. Poseidon has knockback, Dionysus poison, and Artemis has higher chance of critical damage. I like these three gods the most, but the game has made me fall in love with almost all of them. Another thing I adored in this game were its weapons. You only start with a sword, but later unlock a bow, shield, spear, gun, and twin fists. Every weapon has 4 aspects that change the way how you play with them. A weapon I liked the most was a spear, because it gave me a lot of freedom and mobility. I had the most fun with it. It had fluid fast attacks, and also a lot of variety. All locations, or rather levels, were appealing to me. My personal favorite location definitely has to be Elysium. This is due to its vivid colors and interesting but strange enemy designs. One thing that I didn't like in Hades that much were its boss fights. I am writing the script after finishing great games like Sekiro and Dark Souls 3, and these games have some of the most beautiful boss fights that I ever had the chance to face. So reasonably, I'm not a big fan of Hades' bosses. All 7 boss fights, if we count the 3 sisters, felt almost the same to me. I didn't even felt the excitement of wanting to know what the next boss could be when I first played the game. Even Hades, which I thought will be the most difficult enemy, wasn't much of a threat, and I defeated him first try when I got to him. Only 2 bosses gave me satisfying feeling after defeating them, and they are Theseus and Asterius. Not only were they difficult, they also had incredible personalities and great design. I first found out about the game through a friend who streamed it to me on Discord, and I immediately thought it looked great but also not very challenging. I didn't have money back then, so even though I wanted to play the game as soon as possible, I had to wait till the next Steam sale, which was in a month or so. When I first played Hades, I was surprised that the game is kind of hard, and I was actually struggling to even get past the normal levels, let alone boss fights. I naturally died a lot, but that's the only way you can progress in this game, so I wasn't mad, but instead I had fun. Every time I died, I get to upgrade something with the resources I collected on my attempted escapes, and that made the game exceptionally fun. Elysium and its final boss fight, Theseus and Asterius, was the hardest challenge I had to face in Hades. But Hades is only hard at the very beginning. It started to feel bland to me after the 13th run or so, because the game was not challenging at all, even with the use of heat gauge. So when I felt like the game was too easy, I decided to give myself some type of challenge. For example, I could only deal damage with dashes, and that made the game fun again. Another big problem I had with the difficulty, or rather with the upgrade system, was that I didn't know if I was actually improving at the game or if the game mechanics were carrying me to successful escapes every time. I had to test it out, so I started a new game to see if I can get further than my first time playing, and believe it or not, I got all the way to Elysium. It felt relieving that all the time I spent in the game I was improving and that it wasn't the upgrades that made me complete the game. Supergiant Games have experience in creating unique looking games, and Hades is no exception. Hades has great character designs and beautiful vibrant colors that make the game feel distinct, but even somewhat simpler looking game like Hades has some beautiful parts in it, for example Zagreus. It was calm and warm. These were the feelings that I didn't have for any other location in Hades. Other locations feel stressful, fast and cold because you are really just playing as son who wants to see his mother no matter what. And when I realized that, the game was really bitter for a while, but fortunately the funny jokes that Zagreus made put my pessimistic feelings aside for good. When it came to video effects, Dave had them down too. Every attack and ability looked refined, and it helped Hades to feel more fluid. Hades has interesting and fun characters that were taken from Greek mythology. You get to experience different interactions between different gods and mythical creatures, and it felt like a dream that came true. I was always interested in Greek mythology, but I only learned about it in school, and I never could imagine how the gods act or how would they interact with each other. But Hades showed it to me, and it was great. I didn't know what to expect from the dialogues, but I was pleasantly surprised. Every conversation I took had meaning, or at least they were quite funny. But I still feel like they wasted some opportunity with the side characters. I would love to see them give me some side quests, just to hear different dialogues from them. I love when games give you different ways of beating them, and Hades does this incredibly well. There are many reasons why I wanted to play Hades again. Biggest one was probably that I wanted to feel how I felt when playing the game for the first time. I was excited to come home from school to play Hades for 6 hours straight and do nothing else. Even though I wasn't being productive in any way, it still was incredible feeling that I don't have about any game anymore. Hades is addictive and it was made to be exactly that. Every escape gives you so many options that you can't possibly experience in few runs. You have to play a lot and you would still be far from experiencing everything in this game. Hades has about average game length. It took me around 17 hours to get to the true ending and about 50 more to get every achievement this game had to offer. But it's very skill dependent, so someone who is better than me could have completed it in 12 hours. Hades isn't long or too short either. I would say that they managed to find a great length to enjoy the game without filling it with useless things. I bought the game for 13 euros and it definitely was worth the money. If you still haven't bought it yet, I highly advise you to do so, because the sequel is on the way and you don't want to miss out on playing the original. I also enjoyed how Hades dealt with sound effects, music and voice acting. Every character in Hades has unique personality and voice acting is helping establish them. Music in Hades is fitting with the gameplay. It has some hardcore rock sounding sequences that play while you fight, but also beautiful, emotional, lonely ones like Good Riddance, for example. I enjoyed some of the songs so much that I've even listened to them in my free time. But you may ask why I still haven't talked about the story. And frankly, it's because I don't remember it that well anymore. I could talk about the gameplay or replayability because I experienced it again and it was the same as the first time, but that can't be said about the story. I could replay the whole game once again and after that talk about it, but I don't have that much free time to do something like that, so if you're interested in the story, just go and play Hades already, please. And that's all I can say about Hades. I am really happy that I've done this video because it's really hard for me to talk about the things I like, especially in English. But I think I've done a pretty good job, at least in this video. But still, if you enjoyed it, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe and watch my next video. Until then.